Freeworld Heads Up. It's myself and Alex Poole with you today. Start off with a little bit of currency news. There's not a huge amount of movement so far, so what we're kind of seeing a bit of movement in is the euro. There's been kind of some elections in France for the centre-right party in the last week. Kind of the prime favourite to win that and perhaps going to win the presidency in France was Marine Le Pen, who of course is very anti-EU and possibly would give Britain an easier time if we were to trigger Article 50 and leave. However, the front runner, or certainly a strong challenger of that, now appears to be a guy by the name of Francois Fillon, who was a bit of an outsider. Now he seems to be a bit more pro-EU than Le Pen, certainly, and seems to be of the opinion that if the UK was to leave the EU, that there would be some harsher punishments put in place. Now this is maybe a bit of political jousting to try and scare supporters of Le Pen away, and thinking that if UK was punished for leaving, if France leaves the EU as well, there will also be similar punishments. So kind of a bit of kind of political to and fro in there, maybe not as straightforward as it first seems. So the euro started off quite weak last week. It's firmed a little bit also on the back of the news that Angela Merkel is going to run again for President of Germany, which is quite good news for the EU because she's seen as a bit almost the figurehead of the EU.
Stability, and
kind
keep
of
things on the straight and narrow.
Exactly. She's kind of the face of the EU more so than a lot of the leaders who are coming in and perhaps looking to tear it down. So that's really the only news on the currency front. Dollars remained relatively stable. Sterling has also remained relatively stable. The only kind of changes this kind of euro dropping and a slight rise that we've seen this morning. Currency-wise, do you want to take us into something? Do you want to take us into sunflower? What's up in there?
Yeah. So the main type of sunflower that we do is traded in euros from Bulgaria. It's bakery grade, and seems like for the last year or so, whenever I've sat and done these chats with Sanjay, I've always said that the price of sunflower is pretty stable, and that it was due to start moving up, and that's actually started happening now.
Should have listened.
So sunflower oil prices have started to move up, and as a result, the actual raw material, sunflower kernels, has gone up.
Okay.
Other seeds wise, pumpkin seed, which has been coming down for the last 12 months, seems to have stabilised and isn't going down anymore, but it isn't going up either. I think probably processors don't want to go any cheaper than this now, it'll start hurting them.
Right.
But demand just isn't there yet.
Okay.
So my feeling is that when demand starts to pick up, prices will start to pick up.
Okay.
And European inventories are apparently quite low for pumpkin seeds, so we might be seeing a ton up soon.
Right.
And then the other seed that I do most volume on is sesame seeds.
Okay.
Again, like the sunflower, the demand, the actual raw material price hasn't really done very much for the last 12 months, and it's still looking quite stable. Large crops in Africa and large crop in India, despite some rain damage. But over the weekend, one of my shippers told me that the sesame price in Africa had gone up maybe $30 a ton.
Okay.
I think this is just a blip. I think generally overall sesame will be quite stable in dollar terms.
So certainly, sunflower's on the way up. Pumpkin seed looks like, but it could be
go up.
Yeah. So listen, and sesame looks like a momentary kind of blip.
Probably could go weaker again. Still, I think.
Okay. Well, an interesting one from my side is hazelnuts. So we were seeing earlier in the season, probably around sort of from August to start of October, very high prices from hazels. Prices shot up about 60% from that kind of start of August period through to end September, start October.
And that was because of yields, was it?
Yes, it was because the initial kind of forecasts from the exporters union where the price was going to, where the crop was going to be, turned out to be drastically different. A lot of in shell material was coming in, being cracked and found to be empty, no kernels inside, so that obviously took the yield down. Not a disaster of a crop, as the prices would indicate, but certainly not as good as people had maybe anticipated earlier in the year. Of course, this led to far reduced shipments. So we've seen maybe 31% decrease in shipments compared to this time last year, which set a bit of a panic amongst farmers in Turkey. This led to a really quite sudden decrease in price. We're talking maybe a 25% decrease from maybe about 3 weeks ago to Tuesday. Tuesday hit a low. Then Wednesday there was the rumour that the Turkish government was going to become involved in the market again, take a position themselves, buy some from the farmers and prop it back up. So this immediately caused farmers to withdraw from the market, and price rose again, probably about 5 or 6% in the sort of past 2 days. It's news is expected in the next couple of days as to whether this government intervention is firm or if it's just a rumour. But if it is firm, then we could see hazelnut pricing come up again. If it's just a rumour, it may come off again as farmers do realise that their export figures are down drastically. So it's
very, very volatile.
the most volatile nut market going around at the moment. Shot up about 60% in the space of 2 months and has come down another 25% in the space of about 3 weeks. So it's a wild beast at the moment.
It's a difficult one to even. If you were a manufacturer, what would you do if you hadn't booked your cover?
That is a fantastic question. I think that this intervention by the Turkish government seems more likely than it did when there were rumours maybe about 6 months ago of them intervening. I think the price today is not great, but it could be worse. I mean, it's 25% down from what we saw a month ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we could see those levels again. So I mean, it's a difficult one to say, because obviously it could go either way. I mean, it's entirely dependent on what the government decides to do. But at the same time, booking today, I think there's a relatively good chance that you will be booking at a lower level than you'll see maybe in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks time. I mean, certainly it's true that there is not as big a crop as there was last year, but there is a bit of carryover. So I mean, it's a difficult one to say. I mean, a lot of people have told me information that has turned out to be incorrect, or certainly was correct at the time but turned out in later retrospect to being put forward by information that wasn't reliable.
And we haven't discussed American hazelnuts, which we've done. We've fielded inquiries for American hazelnuts, which is a bit, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is a bit more expensive than Turkish.
Yes, they tunnel dry in America. In Turkey, they are dried in fields. America, tunnel dried. So you're getting a more kind of
more
consistently dried product than you would maybe if there's a bit of rain during the drying period in Turkey.
Tends to be less mold risk as well.
Exactly. But that comes with a premium, of course. So that was maybe 3-4 weeks ago a premium that you could look at and go, well, you know what, that's worth it. Maybe today's prices of Turkish hazelnuts back down again. I think maybe Turkish hazels are looking at like the correct choice at the moment, but that could again change, absolutely. Moving on to another product, pine nuts. We're seeing a bit of an increase in Siberica pricing. It's been quite a few larger processors have taken a big chunk of the Siberica market of available material, and
this would be speculators in China.
Exactly. So I mean that's one of the chief driving forces behind pine nut pricing is these speculators taking position and causing volatility in the market. So I mean, Siberica pricing is looking quite firm at the moment. It's looking like it's going to be expensive this year. And last but by no means least, macadamia style ones. South Africa has been sold out for a few months now. New crop we won't be seeing until, well, June probably at the very earliest. We do have some style 1 material available from Malawi, which is exceptionally good quality material. I'm happy to send out samples if anyone's looking at seeing the stuff before they buy it, but it is incredibly good quality and we do have some material available, so do get in touch if you are looking to book any style 1 macadamia before new crop arrives in June. I mean, it's still a long way off, and prices and availability are making things very difficult.
And then there's just one other product. You mentioned South Africa for macadamias. I think last week you were talking to Sanjay, about green raisins, and we
Yes.
had really quite a lot of inquiries for it, and that's still ongoing. We have found some processors in China, one of whom is going through our approval process. As BRC agents, we have to make sure that they are compliant with certain minimum standards.
Sure.
And we hope to start working with those shippers in January time and actually having raw material available in January. But from South Africa, we have these mango strips, which are no added sugar and no added sulfur, and they are currently sitting in our UK warehouse. It's a fantastic product, actually. It's really good particularly for packers. As a manufacturing ingredient, it's probably a little bit too big, but it is available in diced format. But we've imported about 5 tons of these strips for trialling with some packers, and if you have any interest, please get in touch.
Perfect. Yeah. Get involved before they're gone, I think is the answer.
The office loves them.
Yes, they are probably one of the tastiest products that we've ever imported. So I can testify to that.
And 100% natural.
100%
Can't
natural,
stress
which in
that.
this world is becoming a scarce commodity. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. And as always, give us a call if there's anything you're looking for. And if you are looking for more information, give us a call for that too. But thank you very much.
Bye.